All right, welcome to The Explainer. We sat through Simon Dixon's entire 82-minute live stream on the US-China trade deal so you don't have to. And let me tell you, the big takeaway is this. What you're seeing in the news, he says it isn't a trade dispute. No, it's a controlled demolition of the entire global order.
So that's the core idea we're unpacking today. The argument is that all these seemingly random events, Wall Street jumping into crypto, these huge global conflicts popping up, they're actually not random at all. They're all connected, part of a massive, orchestrated plan to shift the world away from one single superpower to a world with many different centers of power.
Okay, so if this is all some grand plan, you've got to ask, who's behind it all? To really get Dixon's theory, you first have to understand the main player he believes is pulling all the strings. He has a very specific name for it, the Proof of Weapons Network.
Now, according to this analysis, this network is the real hidden hand guiding, pretty much everything. Don't think of it like a country or a government. Think of it more like a powerful global web of financial giants, military contractors, and big tech. It operates across borders, and its #1 goal is just to maintain control using money and weapons.
So how does a network like this actually work? Well, the first big piece of evidence presented is all about Wall Street's sudden love for Bitcoin. The argument here is that the big banks aren't adopting Bitcoin's ideals, they're capturing it, basically absorbing it to kill the threat it poses to their own system. And this number really tells the story. We're talking 800,000 Bitcoins supposedly held in just BlackRock's ETF alone. That is a huge transfer of power. We're watching Bitcoin move out of the hands of everyday people and right into the vaults of the same financial giants it was designed to make obsolete. And this, right here, gets to the heart of what's seen as a massive bait and switch. I mean, the whole promise of Bitcoin was financial freedom, right? You hold your own keys, you're your own bank. But now, it's just being turned into another asset that Wall Street can use as collateral for regular old loans, which just makes the old debt-based system even stronger. Yeah, the analysis is pretty blunt here. The claim is that by putting your Bitcoin into these new financial products, investors are actually, without even knowing it, helping to rebuild and reinforce the very walls they were trying to escape from in the first place. All right, so let's zoom out from Bitcoin for a second and look at the huge macro picture. Let's talk about this so-called trade deal, which the source claims is nothing more than a cover story for a much, much bigger economic reset. See, this didn't just happen overnight. The analysis lays out a 50-year story here, arguing that the US dollar's reign isn't just ending by accident, it's being carefully, strategically taken apart. You've got China becoming the biggest oil customer, and you've got US debt going through the roof. All the pieces are in place for a managed transition away from the dollar. And that brings us to the main event, the trade war you keep hearing about. The idea here is that it's pure political theater. It's not a real fight. It's more like a carefully negotiated handover of power, where a new, multipolar world with many powerful players gets to emerge. And if you don't believe it, just look at what's supposedly in the deal. Reducing tariffs, collaborating on Ukraine, no more obstacles to rare earth minerals, which, by the way, are absolutely essential for military tech. I mean, does that sound like a war to you? This is presented as clear evidence that they're working together, not fighting. Now, this whole managed transition isn't just about trade deals. The theory claims you can also see it in how global conflicts are literally packaged and sold to us by the media.
Think about it. Have you ever wondered why a conflict that's been dragging on for years suddenly becomes the biggest story in the world overnight? The argument is that this media spotlight is a strategic weapon, used to create leverage for negotiations that are happening behind closed doors.
Let's take the conflict in Sudan as a perfect example. The media narrative focuses on the humanitarian crisis, but this analysis frames it as a calculated move by that Proof of Weapons Network. The goal? To put pressure on the UAE, which is a rising power, and basically weaken its hand as everyone jockeys for control over Africa's incredible resources.
So look, secret networks, geopolitical chess, why should any of this matter to you? Well, according to the source, this controlled demolition isn't just happening to governments. It has very, very real consequences that hit you right in the wallet. The end result of all this is what's called a K-shaped economy. Just picture the letter K. One line shoots up and the other line drops down. If you own assets, stocks, real estate, Bitcoin ETFs, your wealth goes up. But if you rely on a paycheck and a savings account, inflation just eats away at your life. The rich get richer, and everyone else gets left behind. And the analysis wraps up with a really chilling warning. All the tools of control that were used on other countries for decades,
they're now being brought home. We're talking digital IDs, central bank digital currencies, social credit systems. These aren't just random, separate ideas. They're seen as the building blocks for a whole new system of surveillance, designed for this new world order.
So, after all that, the source material really just leaves us with this one final question. If the world really is going through a planned, engineered reset, what are you going to do about it? How do you navigate all this and find your own freedom? That's really the question to think about.